So I was looking around and I found this. This is my university diploma. And before I got this, I was hoping that it would have meant that I had learned valuable information and learned new ways of solving problems and ways to look at the world, new perspective. I was really hoping that having this paper would mean that I had learned skills and just gained new insight into the world. But I learned this pretty much within a couple weeks of getting there, that this actually means that I'm a member of a club. And in this club, there are two types of people. At least this is the way the members of this club usually see the world. There are those who lie, cheat, steal, and stab others in the back. And there are those being stabbed in the back. And with one of these, I get to be one of the people doing the stabbing. And if I go to an employer and show them this, that lets them know that most likely I'm the kind of person who will not only go against my better judgment, I will likely very happily do what I think is wrong because I've been told to do it. And that they can tell me to do terrible things, and I won't think twice about it. Just to back up for a minute, I have a story from my first semester at school that sums up my whole university experience. This happened within the first couple months. There was an engineering contest, and it involved there was a table with a hole, and you had to build a structure over the hole that would hold weight, and depending on how much weight it could hold and how tall it was and how heavy your actual thing was, you got a score. And then, there was a contest, and they'd rate everyone and blah blah blah. So the materials you got for this were plastic knives, bolts and nuts, and a little hand drill so you could drill holes in the knives and bolt them together and stuff. Well, I looked at this. Well, first we had to have groups too, so you had to have a group of like 6 people, something like that, 6 or 7 people. So I looked at the problem and said, okay, what would be the strongest thing you could possibly do with these materials? Okay, you get rid of the nuts and the bolts, because those are just weight, and they're just going to hold the other stuff together. But if you could melt all the knives together into a solid tripod, that would be like the strongest thing. So I relayed this information to my group, and they're like, no, that's ridiculous. That's obviously not what they want us to do, because they gave us the nuts and bolts. We clearly have to use them, because... And I'm like, wait, no, the contest is to make the best thing, not to do what they... Anyway, after some arguing, I was like, okay, look, I'll make this thing. I can make it myself. You guys make a thing too, and then, a couple days before the contest, we can look at them and see which one we think is the best and which one we can put in the contest. Great. So, I melted all my knives together into this solid tripod. And then they messed around with something. It didn't really end up doing anything. So they said, okay, Jaimie, we'll go with your thing. So we get to the contest, and most people had built like geodesic dome-y kind of things, and just variations on that, where the knives were all bolted together with the nuts and bolts. And I had my melted together tripod thing, which my group was more than happy to go up there and say, here's our thing. Anyway, this is where, I was already kind of seeing where this was going, but I had to see it through to the end, just to confirm that what I thought was actually happening. And it was worse than I thought. Anyway, we get to the contest, and of course they're all happy to show this thing that they made. I don't think I even actually went to the contest, or I sat in the back or something. Anyway, they didn't have enough weight at the contest, even using all the weight they had there. They didn't have enough weight to break the thing, right? To break the tripod I made. This was a huge problem for me. I was like, no, you have to keep getting more weight. You can't just give it a score that was all the weight that you had. You can't just say, oh, well, it could hold 100 pounds because that's all the weight we had. No, I stood on it. It could hold 200 at least. It could probably hold like 5,000. No. If this is a school where we're supposed to be learning things, and when unexpected things come up, you don't just quit. You go next door and you get a transmission out of a car or whatever, and you add that to the weight, and you keep adding. You put 1,000 pounds on there, and if you have to change the setup, whatever, you're engineers. This is an engineering class. You figure out how to do it. I mean, get some duct tape. It shouldn't have been that hard. Anyway, so they're like, oh, it holds 100 pounds, and normally they would go till the thing broke, and then the weight right before it broke was the weight they counted as. And I was like, oh, this is lame. How am I supposed to learn anything when they cap the limit of how good you can be? Anyway, but I was like, whatever. But even with just this limited amount of weight they put on it, the score my thing ended up with was like 20 times higher than the next person's thing. And they had a graph on the wall, right? And instead of rescaling the graph or just like putting the dot way up in the sky somewhere, they just put the dot up at the top of the graph and said, yeah, that's fine. Now, the problem, like, I don't care about the credit. I don't need them to say, wow, your thing is so much better. I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me. But the problem here is that they had a box, they had a graph, and they said, this is where the scores are going to be. And then someone came along with something that was like way up, way above the thing. And this is a place of learning, right? So when it was way above, instead of rescaling the graph and saying, look, we've got a new standard, we can do this now. This is so much better. All this stuff we've thought wasn't nearly as good as this. We can set the bar here and just keep going up and learning more. No, they said, no, we're going to take this and just fit it into the graph anyway. We have to stick it, make it stay in the box because we don't want you to learn more than we planned. Oh, and this whole time I'm thinking, oh, how am I gonna learn? How am I gonna learn from this place? Like they're just gonna drag me down because they're like, no, you can't be way up there. You have to be down with us. So, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Maybe I can work with these people, and I've got time. So, hold on, where was I? So anyway, we won the contest, right? So my group won dinner or lunch, I don't remember which it was, at some fancy university place with a professor, which is very exciting for some people, I guess. So the day before we go to this thing, everyone else in my group suddenly starts asking me the questions about, how did you make this? How did you do that? How did you put this thing together? And I'm just like, are you serious? Is this the people? Wait, no, don't make prejudgment. I have to find out if these are people worth being around, worth interacting with, or if they're not. So I just need to give them the information because I don't care about the credit, all right? I just need to find out if they're trying to get this information to say that they did it and take credit when it wasn't for them. So I'm like, yeah, I did it this way and I did this and that. So the next day at the dinner, lunch or whatever, all the other members of my group are like, oh yes, well, we did this, and then we put this together, and we did that, and completely disregarding the fact that they said, no, don't do that, it's not going to work, and then I had to do the whole thing by myself. I think actually at some point during the dinner, I said something like, well, someone made a mistake, and I was like, actually, you guys didn't do it that way, because that wouldn't work at all. What I did was I did this and this, and then they looked kind of really bad, and there was a very awkward time. But anyway, I didn't care about that. I was just annoyed at this point that I'd spent all this time and energy getting into this Ivy League university, which was supposed to be some place where the smartest people in the world go to learn. And these are some of the smartest people in the class, supposedly, according to the grades and stuff, right? But they're just lying through their teeth and just taking credit. They don't care about learning. They just, I want the credit because then they'll think I'm doing it right and it doesn't matter if I've learned anything. And I was like, there's nothing I can learn from these people. All I can do is try to minimize my interaction with them so they don't rub off on me too much. And that's when I stopped going to class. I just showed up for exams. Luckily, well, maybe not luckily, it probably would have worked out better if I flunked out. Anyway, I did end up finishing school. I just show up for the exams, and luckily I aced those because I was getting zeros on all the homeworks. But you know, I would still interact with these people and show up to class once in a while just to confirm what this actually meant. That this is not a learning. It's not evidence of having learned anything useful. It's evidence of having learned how to be a crappy person. And I hear stuff all the time. The people with these papers talk on the radio and the TV and out in conversations like they know what they're talking about, and they talk like they really think they're doing the right thing. And all I can think is, oh my God, it just sounds like you're trying to convince yourself that this is the right thing. For example, war is good for the economy. I hear this all the time, right? What does that mean? See, this paper means that you can add 2 plus 2, but it means you're smart enough to add 2 plus 2, but you're not smart enough to ask what the 2 is. 2 what? What are you adding together? So, you know, they can put this stuff. Anyway, war is good for the economy, right? What does that statement actually mean? That means if you go to another country and kill people, we get more money. How does that make any sense? That means the money, which was originally supposed to be valuable, to like you would trade it for an apple and be like, look, this dollar is worth an apple, or whatever it's whatever the amount you pay for an apple is. But anyway, it was supposed to be like a placeholder for value, right? But now it's being used to destroy things. You go over there and you kill someone, and then we get more value. You reduce value in the world, and then you become more wealthy. You know what? You cannot become more wealthy by reducing value in the world. Just like you can't improve yourself by pushing others down. You go down with them. If you hurt someone else, you hurt yourself. And if you push someone else down, yeah, you're on top of them, but you're below all the other people who aren't pushing down. Anyone who's pushing up and helping each other and cooperating and working together to do better things, they're just miles ahead of where you are. You're down in the slop. Pushing people down, you end up in the gutter. You might not be able to tell because you're not touching the gutter because you're standing on top of someone. But you're down there in the sludge. And so many people who have these papers, who I saw getting them, they just spent 4 years being indoctrinated into this idea that they just get rewards of money, and that's what's important. Disregard what you think is right. Doesn't matter if you think it's right. We can destroy value in the world and get wealth. You take a negative, you throw negatives out there, and then you get a positive. Well, how does that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work anywhere in the natural world. It only works in a convoluted economic system that doesn't make any sense at all. You can't destroy something and get something from it unless you're destroying something and taking something from someone else's hard work. And it's always destroying way more than you end up getting in anyway. It's just like thieves. When they go and steal something, they can never sell it for the real value because they've destroyed so much of the value in the thing. But it doesn't even just apply to things like war and things that are so blatantly violent. Take building a bridge. There's no reason that we should be building bridges with rusty steel when we have developed the technology of stainless steel. The actual material difference is a tiny percentage. It's just you take regular steel, you add a little bit of stuff. It doesn't matter what it is. You just add a little bit of extra stuff in it, and suddenly it doesn't rust anymore. Why wouldn't you make your bridges out of that? Because it's bad for the economy. The economy is so messed up because it's run by people with these. And it's run by by a few people who know how to control the people with these, because the people with these spend 4 years learning how to do what they're told, like idiots. Sorry, it really bothers me that this is going on in the world. There's so many people going down just as fast as they can, destroying as much as they possibly can, as fast as they can, and they think they're doing the right thing. Anyway, you build a rusty bridge. That means you have to keep doing maintenance on it. You have to repaint it. You have to cut chunks out, re-weld parts in. 50 years from now, you have to replace the whole thing, and it's all a rusty mess of garbage that you put in a garbage pile, and maybe can hopefully recycle some of it. But if you build a stainless steel bridge, it's not more difficult. I'll tell you that. It is not more difficult to build a stainless steel bridge than a rusty steel bridge. Just the fact that you don't have to paint it makes up for any more difficulties in using the stainless material. And I've worked in stainless steel and regular steel. It's not that different. You can weld both of them. It's pretty much the same thing. Stainless steel is usually a little harder to drill and stuff. But if you don't have to paint it after, that totally makes up for it. But even if it took 20 times the amount of effort to make the stainless steel bridge that will last 1,000 years, it's worth it. Just in terms of people, like the amount of time and effort that is wasted repainting and grinding the rust off and doing all this fixing. The idea that we need to create these jobs that do nothing, that just have people going around in circles, that just maintain things that should have been made so they don't need maintenance. Why do we have to do that? Why do we have to give ourselves these silly jobs to somehow make wealth? We're not making wealth. You can't make something that falls apart. You're destroying the value, and then you think you're making wealth from that. You're not. What we should be doing is making things that last and making good things that are useful for a long time. We don't have to keep going back and fixing. We shouldn't have to fix the roads every other year. We should be spending time with our children, raising them. Both parents should not be working all the time. This is the price we're paying for this economic system, where it's just a huge cycle where everything costs so much money because it's always being destroyed, because you buy a car that rusts, and it means you have to get a new car, and you have to make the money before your last car rusts out so you can buy a new one in time. But if you just had a stainless steel car or a titanium car, like even just the frame and the body, you'd never have to replace them unless you had better technology to replace it. And that's where we should be spending our time. We shouldn't be wasting all our time and energy repairing all this junk we keep making. This whole planned obsolescence thing comes from people who have these things, who think, well, my company can make more money if I take plastic, which is like a practically indestructible material, and I make single-use items, the most disposable items. If I make the most disposable items with the most indestructible material, I can make money out of it. Take the money out and just look at what they're doing. It's just creating garbage that you can't get rid of. Wow, it's so insane. And now there's, out in the oceans, you can go out to the Pacific Ocean, there's an area the size of Texas filled with plastic chunks, and it just keeps swirling around and growing as more plastic garbage ends up in there. And we're destroying our health. People are getting sick all the time, and there's all this pollution, and it's all because money. Like, why can't we just get over this whole idiotic money scheme and start using it in a way that makes sense, not a convoluted way where banks are like, okay, we take the money and then we convert it over here, we move it there, and then we take the money over there, switch it around, and then suddenly we have twice as much. But we have to move it 100 more times around. Why don't you use the money for what it's actually for? It's to make it easier to make transactions. So use the money to actually get things that are useful. Like a stainless steel bridge that's going to last you 1,000 years. That would be great. You never have to worry about it unless, you know, a meteorite hit it or a giant earthquake swallowed it up. But other than that, you wouldn't have to worry about it. We could spend our time creating new technology. We could be learning all kinds of new things, and that's what people are made for. We didn't evolve to be creatures who just mire in the muck and just don't do anything. We have to work hard and learn and do new things. We're explorers. And that's why the people with these papers in their big offices are so often unhealthy and they're sick. And they're told it's because you're working hard and you have lots of stress and you know, you got to keep going though. It's not working hard and it's not the stress. You know who works hard and who has lots of stress? Farmers. Farmers work so hard and have tons of stress. But and I'm not talking about ones who drive the tractor. I'm talking about like this guy over here a few miles. He has an organic farm and he goes out in the field every day and he's like picking stuff and pulling weeds out, and he's like using his body. He's going through tons and tons of stress. And he works like ridiculous hours, but he is happy. He's such a happy guy. And he's so strong. And that's the thing about your body and your mind. The more you use them, the harder you work, the stronger you get. It's not the stress that makes you sick. It's doing what you know is wrong. And that's what's wrong with these people in these offices when they make these decisions. And you know, it's the hard decision. We need to hire people with these papers because they can make the hard decision, the hard choices. Why is it always such a hard choice to make? Because it's hard to decide to do something that you know is wrong. And when you do things that you know are wrong, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what rewards you get. You are destroying your life. You're destroying yourself and destroying your life. You're taking yourself and making yourself worse than useless. You're not just useless. Useless would be great. You'd be neutral. You'd be zero. You wouldn't be affecting anything. No, you're worse. You're causing destruction and negativity. And when these people they think they're good business people or good marketers because they can convince you to buy anything, buy things you don't want. That's destroying things. It's totally destroying things to convince people to do things they don't want to do. Then you're not only doing it to yourself, you're doing it to other people, and that will eat away at you and just destroy you from the inside. So this paper here, it says that I will do whatever. I just need to get rid of this thing. It says I will conform and do whatever I'm told, regardless of how wrong I think it is. And that's the actual one. And that's it. I'm done with this stupid thing. I was actually meaning to do this a while ago, but I didn't know where it was. I won't do what I'm told.